Truschel with your Weather Tiger threat focus for September 28th. Today's threat is Tropical Storm Matthew, which has developed today while entering the eastern Caribbean. Matthew has gotten right down to business, getting into the tropical cyclone game with sustained winds of 60 miles an hour. Interestingly, Matthew's genesis point is just to the east of a region that has a relative maximum in the proportion of storms forming there that eventually make landfall in the U.S. as a hurricane. The environment is becoming increasingly favorable for strengthening, and over the next 3 days, Matthew will likely intensify to a hurricane as it moves generally westward. There's fairly good agreement that the system will be located southeast of Jamaica by early Saturday afternoon as an intensifying hurricane. Unfortunately, this is nearly a complete list of the things that we know about Matthew with some degree of certainty right now. Beyond 5 days, there remains massive uncertainty in the track of Matthew, and looking at water vapor imagery, the key feature here is going to be the evolution of an upper low that's currently stalled out over the Ohio Valley. How fast that feature moves out, and where Matthew is located as their interaction turns the storm north will determine whether the storm eventually goes out to sea or threatens the United States. As you can see on the GFS ensembles, Matthew is initially further north, and the trough moves a little faster, so the storm gets pulled up the east coast. In the operational Euro and many of the Euro ensembles, further south initial position also turns Matthew north in 4 days, but leaves the storm close to Florida at long range as high latitude blocking develops and steering patterns become weak. As I mentioned yesterday, climatology suggests that the most likely outcome for Matthew is that it will eventually trek out to sea without making landfall, with southern Florida by far the most common landfall location in the October historical record. However, events like Hazel and Sandy are a reminder that rarer late-season outcomes are possible, and the consistency of the GFS ensembles is indicative of an ongoing threat to the whole U.S. East Coast, as well as to Florida. Using ensemble-weighted climatology to construct a probabilistic first guess of the eventual fate of Matthew, I would say that there is roughly a 45% chance the storm goes out to sea without making a U.S. landfall, with a 25% chance of Florida, 10% chance of the Carolinas, and 15% chance of Mid-Atlantic or New England direct impacts. Don't take these numbers too literally, as they are merely a very early and very rough estimate of the general risk. As for intensity, the potential for land interaction with Haiti and baroclinic influences at long range mean I'm not even going to venture any kind of a guess, other than to note that most models have an intense cyclone through the forecast period at this stage. Bottom line, to turn it over to forecaster Kevin Garnett for a wrap-up, anything is possible. I think that may be the most that anyone can say at this point, so pay full attention and stay nimble along the full length of the U.S. coastline, as well as in Cuba, Hispaniola, and the Bahamas. Anyway, now you know the tropical threat for September 28th. This is Dr. Ryan Truschel. I'll be back on Friday with another full update, and until then, keep watching the skies.